I'm showing a video of my Enzo Ferrari, the manual tuning that I did on it for this particular track, Lake Maggiore. Let's go into it. So this is a irregular bumpy track with uneven surfaces and some, rocks and potholes laid throughout the track. So with that, the suspension calls for a softer suspension. This is what you want when you have low speed corners, irregular bumpy tracks with debris and potholes and such nature. So what this tune for this track, the weight reduction is all the way at the bottom. Lowered that to the very minimal. Power ratio, the engine power, I left the same. I leave this the same with all my Enzo tunes for all different tracks. You get bumper from 658 to 935 horsepower, and you're getting about 200 more pounds per foot max torque. It's entirely too much for this car, given the braking and the cornering statistics. If you bump this all the way up, it would diminish the car's production on what it could do on the track. You're much better off just leaving her at 100. So I raced this car with traction control of 5 max, super soft tires for the time trials. I did have the brake balance all the way to the front at -5, but for this particular course, I wanted to give the back brakes just a little bit of braking, so I went -3. And the reason I did that, the reason I gave the back brakes a little bit more braking is because of two particular corners on this track, and one of the corners are earlier in the track. You're practically doing an over 90-degree turn. It's a very tricky corner, and I find that adding a little bit of braking to the rear helps a lot with that. The ride height, the suspension matches the ride height. Since this is not a straightforward high-speed track, my ride height is lifted a bit higher in the air than what it would be on a smooth high-speed track. My suspension is really low. It's soft. With the damping ratios, the bump and the rebound are increased, and what this is going to do is it's going to compress more slowly. And the reason you want that is for a track like Lake Maggiore, what we're on right now, having the higher ratio for the bump and the rebound is to give your car time reaction off of the bumps or the uneven surfaces that you're going to drive over. So your car doesn't get away from you, so you can have more control. Plus, with the suspension being lower the way it is, it's going to give you more grip and more power to the road. Any roll bars, I have it set to 6.4 to give it a little bit of body roll for this track. So this is giving you a little bit of understeer, which I prefer. Not too much though, based on two particular corners on this track. I didn't want it to be too stiff because it would affect how you would approach the cornering on these two particular corners on this track. Negative camber is 2. You never want higher negative camber on the rear compared to the front. You always want more camber angle on the front compared to the rear. And the toe angle is at 25 with this track. I have it at 40 with the toe end on the rear. I usually race it on like the smoother high-speed tracks. I usually bring the toe for the rear end to 50, and I lower the front toe out to about 15 to 20. But since this is not a high-speed track and there's a lot of cornering, I have a little bit more toe. And the transmission is completely tuned. I tuned this myself using a couple calculators. It's got great acceleration and it's got really good top speed. Top speed, I think I'm hitting about 245, I think, but it's very rare to see that on the tracks that I race this Enzo on. So I never really hit top speed. Therefore, I want a quicker acceleration. And how I did this tune off my calculator, I adjusted the second gear differently than the rest of the gears on here. So that being said, last but not least, the differential. The higher, what you want to start off with is the limited slip differential, the initial torque. The higher this is, the more synchronized the outer wheel and the inner wheel is, which would give you massive understeer. It will slow the outer wheel down to catch up to the inner wheel. Since the outer wheel is moving faster than the inner wheel, the lower this goes, the faster the outer wheel is going, and the higher allows the outer wheel to catch up with the front wheel. This is the base. Acceleration, what this means is corner exit, when you're exiting a corner. So with a higher number, it's going to give you more power and more grip to the ground, but it could hinder the corner exit. It could hinder the steering where you could go out too wide and you will overrun the track. So you don't want that. For this particular track, I like it at 22, and the corner entry I like at 22. This is when you're braking and turning into a corner. The lower this value is, the better turning radius you're going to have, but it's going to be a little bit less power and grip to the ground. So I usually run her at 35, 30, 30, but a 30 ratio. With this at 35, the initial torque, and the corner exit and the corner entry at 30, it's too much understeer for this track. So I had to lower the values a little bit so I can keep up with some of the cornering. Because where I had it set at 35, 30, 30, I was just running off the track. So this is where I like it. If you try this tune out on your Enzo, and if you like, give me a thumbs up, give me a holler. I'd like to hear I would like to hear your thoughts on it. Tell me if it's a bad tuning, if it's a bad tune-up, or if it's good. I'd like to get some feedback. So that's the tune for Lake Maggiore, and I'm going to show this replay. I'm going to show it back to back twice. When I raced this, I raced it from a third-person perspective where you see the car, and I'm going to show a cockpit view from inside the car. But it's 3 laps, so it ain't going to be too long. 3 laps. So here we go. Here we go. Okay. coming up right here is one of the corners I was talking about. It's a very tricky corner here. And I didn't hit it right that time. This is the second corner that I was explaining. So it took me a couple laps to warm up, and I finally hit it on my third lap here.